Hey everyone, it's Caitlin, and recently I saw a YouTube video by Nina Wang, shout out to her, she's a genius and goes to MIT, and she rated all her courses that she's taken at MIT. And I thought, I've taken a decent amount of classes at Berkeley. I'm a computer science major, and going into college I had no idea what classes to take, and something like this would have been really helpful to me instead of having to go through a shit ton of Reddit posts to learn about all the different professors and the different courses that you can take and when to take them and what you should be expecting about them. So here's my dish on some of the UC Berkeley courses. So I'm going to be rating the courses on this scale. And yeah, so first up we got CS61A. This is like the introduction course that everyone takes for CS majors at least, and I would give this a 10 out of 10 would take again. The class has been around for a while, so I feel like they've really gotten what to do down. The curriculum is really solid. There's a tons of resources that you could get. I had John Denero, who's just like a nice little bear, like Daddy Denero. No. But he's honestly like one of the greatest professors. It's taught in Python, and I would highly recommend anyone, even if you're not a CS major, to take it. But yeah, it can be really intimidating to have that many kids in a class, but they have a lot of resources. So they have like CSM, where you can get small group tutoring, as well as tons of like test resources and office hours and discussions where you can always ask questions. One thing that was really helpful for me was that there was so many tests in their test bank that there was like an endless amount of things you could practice on before an exam. You could take like 100 practice tests before a midterm if you wanted to. The tests don't deviate much from the past exams. So next up we have UGBA 10. So going into college right out of my senior year, I was super ambitious and I was like, I'm gonna be both Haas and CS, double major. Can't be that hard, right? Well, UGBA is the class, UGBA 10 specifically, is a class that turned me off to Haas. I would give this a heavy regret. I didn't want to drop out of the class because like it wasn't that hard, it was just like so stupid, you know? We're learning, we're kind of useful-ish, but not in the right context. UGBA 10, you're gonna have multiple choice exams where if you get like 2 or 3 questions wrong, you're already at a B, which doesn't really make sense because it put a lot of pressure on knowing vocabulary terms and memorization from the book, when I really think the whole point of business is to hone in soft skills. Although, okay, this is coming from a CS major, but like knowing the definition of marketing isn't gonna help me market things, you know what I mean? So they have this stupid thing called CapSim, or I don't know, it's called like something different now, market games, something like that. Anyways, you have to pay for the service. You have to pay for market games, like I don't know how much. I think I spent like $100 on this course that I pass-failed. But anyways, you pay for this course and basically you get split up into random teams with like random people from your class, and you have to work with them to make business decisions in order to make your startup win against other teams in your discussion section. And so basically you're pitted against other people, and I don't know, the idea of that is just kind of, I feel like it starts with UGBA 10, why Haas snakes become Haas snakes. It's because like you're already pitted against each other at the lowest level. I honestly didn't really care, and I was just like typing in random numbers for CapSim. I mean, there was probably a strategy for it, but it's a lot of it is based on luck and like how the other teams in your discussion section do as well. Because literally the first team will get like A, the second team will get B, third team C, and like I don't even know what happens if you get like last place. Yeah. Well, anyways, I pass-failed that class and I never took a business class again. E16A. This class was pretty tough for me. If there's anything I regret from high school is not taking AP Physics, because I had the worst time learning how to circuit. Like, hardware it doesn't I found the midterms actually to be pretty easy. They were like very similar to the past exams, but when I came down to the final, it was like 40 pages and I was so intimidated that I think I just like freaked out and I couldn't do it. I did really bad on that final, and maybe if I didn't freak out and have anxiety attack during the final, I might have done better and liked the class a little bit more. But in general, the class takes so much time. It's not even like it's that hard, it's just like it takes so much time. You have like 3 hours of lecture a week, 2 hours of discussion, then you have a 3-hour lab, which is the worst. I didn't know anyone in freshman year, so I was taking lab with random people and it was really sad. Like yeah, it was just not a good time. I mean, they ended up being like kind of pretty nice and like friendly to me, but it was just really tough, like dreading a 3-hour lab already and then like not knowing anyone there. Yeah, it was just not fun. And then also, like, if you take the small group tutoring sessions CSM for E16A, you have the option to. That's like another like 2 hours a week, or like 1.5. So it's already like 10 hours a week just baseline, and then you have like problem sets and studying for tests too. So it's just like takes a shit ton of time and it's really not necessary. For 16A, I don't know, I think I would just give it like a 50 out of 100. I mean, I don't heavily regret it because I needed to know those concepts for 16B, but like if I had the option, I wouldn't take it. But unfortunately now both 16A and 16B are required for CS majors, so you're gonna have to take it sometime. One thing I would recommend is not waiting till your senior year to take it, because all your friends will be gone and you'll be in your 3-hour lab by yourself. We have NUTRISCI 10. A lot of people actually take this class for the bio breath and it's really easy. I honestly really enjoyed the content and I think I would give it like a solid thumbs up. The thing about it is that the whole course staff is kind of a mess. At least when I took it, it was just no one really knew what was going on and the lecturers were like but the content itself is pretty interesting, like health and wellness, obesity, just learning about the American culture, you know. It's super easy. You'll take like a couple of midterms and a final. They're all multiple choice, but it's pretty straightforward. And you don't need to buy a textbook. Don't be like me and spend money on a textbook. It's not worth it. Closes up fall semester. And by the way, in my fall semester, I took CSM for 61A and 16A. So 2 CSMs in addition to all that shit. What I'm going to talk about for my spring semester is 16B. 16B was, I think it's probably a 10 out of 10 would take again. It's a great class. It's really solid. I had Professor Joshua Hug, who's just another little like teddy bear. He's like so sweet and so nice, and he's really small, but yeah, it's like Hug and Denero, but they're both like the best CS professors on campus probably, in my opinion. And 16B is basically data structures, and you need this shit. Like, even if you don't think you need this shit, you need this shit for like interviews, for anything you do in the industry or research. You need data structures. And 16B does a really good job covering it. I literally got my Google internship after taking 16B, which is crazy. So it really does help a lot, and I would highly recommend. Even if you're not like strictly CS, I would recommend taking it if you plan on doing any kind of software engineering in the future. A lot of other universities also use the same materials as CS 61A, so you know it's the good shit. It's pretty straightforward, just like 61A. It's been around for a long time, so there's a lot of material that you can look into. One thing is, do not take it with Hellerstein or something like that. My friend had him and apparently it was hell. So 16B, it really depends on your professor too, because like the projects can be a lot of work. This applies to 16A and 16B, and actually basically any project-oriented CS course. Have friends when you're taking these classes, or make friends when you're taking these classes, otherwise it's gonna be really a not fun journey Doing projects by yourself is probably like the worst possible thing in the world. Yeah, it's not fun. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend doing projects by yourself. So my roommate actually decided to hold off taking 61A, and she took data 8 in fall semester and then 61A in spring and 61B in fall again. And it ended up that she had Hellerstein for 61B, and she really regretted that. She regretted not having close friends when she was doing those projects, because we used to always work on the projects like together and try to figure out and help each other bug fix when we got into problems, because like going to your office hours by yourself is just not great. Next up, for my spring semester, I took CS 70 because I wanted to declare my CS major. And CS 70, I had RAW, and I would give it a 50 out of 100. Like, it wasn't great. He's not the best professor. Like King Hug and Denero, RAW was kind of a step down. He's a really smart guy. He's like hundreds of publications and shit, but the way he teaches is like he literally pulls up like a slide for CS. Okay, this is like CS/math basically, and he'll pull up like a PDF on his command line. He'll pull it up from like 2004, and then he'll just display it, and he'll just like scroll through that, and then that's his lecture, and he'll just read off the slides. And so it really doesn't help that much to go to his lectures, unfortunately. And so I did a lot of like self-studying and doing a lot of practice in order to do well in this class. Next up, we have Italian R5B. This is like a really obscure class. Like I don't even think anyone... I took all my breath classes for this semester alone. I don't really recommend that either, but it was fine for me. I kind of like being alone sometimes, just like in class where like no one can see me, because a lot of the other breath classes, there'll be like smaller groups of people, and then like you'll have to participate in discussion, and I don't need any like pressure from friends or anything, so I can just like sit and just be a wall in the background. I think for Italian R5B, I would give it a solid thumbs up. It was a great class. I took it with this professor. I think her name was Emily. She was super sweet, and she honestly cared a lot about Italian culture, and it made me want to like travel to Italy. The readings were pretty easy, and like it didn't take that much time as an R1B. Like I know a lot of people like are scared of taking R1Bs because they can be kind of time consuming and have to do a lot of like reading and writing, but it was kind of nice, like reading fiction for fun in class. The thing about it was at 8 a.m. so yeah, no, don't take 8 a.m.s, but if you want an easy R5B, it's always there. Like AP Lang in high school, and you got like a 4 or 5, you would be exempt from R1A, but you won't be exempt from R1B. If you took AP Lit, on the other hand, you would be exempt from both. So that's another thing that I regret from high school. For my spring semester, I have Portugal 27. Probably like the class that literally 0 people talk about. And I honestly didn't know anyone in that class. It was about 40 people. It's kind of fun if you just want to just sit there and just listen to someone talk for an hour and a half and get credit for it. Teacher was kind of whack, but he meant well. He was just like talking about random stuff all the time. And honestly, I would just like tune it out sometimes and just be like, okay, yeah. For Portugal 27, I think I would give that between solid and 50 out of 100. Like, it wasn't bad, but also it was just kind of a mess at times. Like, I didn't really know what was going on in the class ever. Like, the assignments are just like, whew, whenever he felt like it, he would just give assignments. Yeah, it was just really random. So yeah, it's not a great class. I get a deeper perspective into a culture that I never really talked about in school or at home. So Portugal might be my next destination on travel. After Italy though, probably. And if you didn't know, I took my fall semester off to do a Google internship, but so I'm gonna skip that. Fast forward to spring. Probably like my least favorite set of classes, my least favorite semester out of all of them. Yeah, it was not great. First up, we got my number one regret, CS61C with Nicholas Weaver. No, like just no. Give 61C, like, I considered dropping out at some points of the semester. It was not fun. Like, people warned me about it, but I needed to get that prereq done in order to take classes in the future. People usually take 61C their sophomore fall, and they usually have a better professor during that time, but since I was interning, then I ended up taking it in the spring with Weaver, and it was pretty bad. He got a little bit more lenient towards the end of the semester with Corona and everything. And it's definitely the lowest thing of all the CS prereqs. It's not fun. Some people hold off to take it. I wouldn't recommend doing that either because you're gonna have to take it eventually, and you might as well do it with your friends because the projects are a pain in the ass. Like, they're literally so annoying. Like, debugging in C, like, I don't care about pointers. I don't really care about memory, honestly, that much. I don't really care about, like, parallelism. It's just things that I don't really use on a daily basis. Maybe I will in the future if I'm, like, a security engineer or something, but not my cup of tea. And also, Nicholas Weaver, I want to say, like, he's a good person. It's just his voice is really annoying. I was watching at like 2x speed because I didn't really want to like sit through that much of him. Mom actually was like, what is that sound? Like, it sounds so bad. I was like, this is my professor's voice. But yeah, no, definitely take with Garcia if you can, and take it with friends. Was E16B, and 16B, actually, I think it was better than 16A. The lectures were pretty good. I had like Murat, Arcak, I forgot his... Yeah, I didn't have Sahai. Don't take it with Sahai if you can. And I think you'll be like, okay. For 16B, you actually get an option. Typically, depends on your professor. For us, we got an option to do a lab or not, and we did lab for whatever reason. I ended up passing the class, so it didn't really matter if I had more heavyweight on like exams or anything. But in the beginning of the semester, we were ambitious and we wanted to do lab, and it's a good way to learn. I think it's kind of fun-ish. 16B lab, it's a little bit more applicable than 16A labs, and so it's always 3 hours, and it's not great. But at least I had two friends with me. One of them was really good at hardware, so kind of carried us through like the first half. And like in the second half, because of Corona, we couldn't really do hardware as well. So like they gave us the option to like not do hardware, and we took that, and it was pretty easy. And my 16B, probably like a solid. Like, it was as good as it could be for me.
Are rows across breadboards connected? Yes.
I was preparing for the worst because I heard stories about Sahai and just terrible stories about the car, but I think I got pretty lucky with like getting saved by not having to actually create the car. Yeah, that was good. Corona came in clutch in that point. I'm sorry. I know it's a global pandemic, but like I don't think we would have survived. CS170, and I think I would give CS170 like a 50 out of 100. Like, they really do the most, and I think there's some useful concepts in the class. For us, it was taught by like this Harvard professor, Jelani Nelson, who was like, he was really good, and this other guy, I forgot his name, but I'll put it here. But they were both solid lecturers, and it made learning the concepts a little bit easier. It's pretty math heavy based, like CS70, there's a lot of proofs and things like that, things that I'm not good at. The tests were pretty difficult, like the average was below a 50%, I think, for every single class. I mean, for every single test. So that was kind of hurt my heart a bit, but the curve is pretty nice. And I think, even though I ended up like pass failing, I think it would have done okay. Except for the final, holy shit. Like, I don't think this is gonna apply in the future, but they had multiple choice finals for basically, honestly, all of my CS classes for the spring semester. And I just think multiple choice in CS is just not a good combo. Like, you can't test CS knowledge with multiple choice. It's just really difficult to be tested on like really obscure concepts in CS, because in general you pay attention to like understanding how to create the algorithm itself rather than like the nuances of the algorithm itself and like how it applies and things like that. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's just really, I just feel like I'm just guessing all the time. And then for my fun class, I took History 136AC. It was a history breath and also AC class. So 2 things knocked out. But I would not say it's an easy A, because the TAs were kind of anal about grading the writings. Like, every week we would have like a couple of write-ups, and the crazy bitch I am, I did like most of it in the first week of spring semester, so I didn't have to do any work for that class for the rest of the semester. But these people were actually like literally reading through every single line in my writing and being pretty tough on that shit. Like, I thought I understood the readings pretty well. Pointing out things like, this is not facts, and I'm pretty sure it was facts. I don't know, maybe it's up to. I didn't really read into it that much because I was just like, whatever. Say it's not a lot of time commitment. Like, the lectures are not mandatory, and the teacher is super nice. Like, the lecturer is so sweet. Like, she was honestly really fun to listen to when I went to lecture. Freaking TAs who graded that work, like, they were so anal about like every little thing. Like, I didn't put a citation once and they took off like 5 points, and I'm like, and on my final they said I didn't write the keywords, even though I wrote the keywords there. They're like, it's not here. And I got like, I don't know, 10 points taken off because I didn't write keywords, and I was like, it's literally there. But I wasn't about to argue because I was pass failing the class anyways, and I passed already, so I was like, you know what, I don't need to give them shit for that. So if I'm gonna leave you with anything today, I'm gonna do a brief summary. First of all, if you have the option, take AP Physics in high school if you're gonna be a CS major. Second, take AP Lit if you're going to maybe go to a UC school, because it will count for a whole year of reading and writing and you won't have to take any of those classes. Third thing is, don't be a bitch in high school. No, I'm just kidding. Here's some professors to avoid for taking CS. Sahai, Weber, Rao if you can, Hellerstein. Yeah, that's the only 4 that I can think of right now, but I'm sure there's more I might put down somewhere. Here's some professors to look out for and try to schedule your CS courses around. Number 1, Danny Denero for 61A, Joshua Hug for 61B, Dan Garcia for 61C just to avoid Bieber. and he's also pretty good, I've heard. And then finally, Jelani Nelson for CS 170 was great too. Hope this helped someone. Bye! See you next time.